I don't have any other records except Out Come the Wolves, and I don't skip at least one track.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think my whole rankings list needs to be remade, man. Like, the more I'm listening to music, 'cause I've been listening to it more and more, like all of it, not just this one album, but all their
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I think I have a wonky rankings, dude. Like, I think I put some stuff where it was out of like respect more than out of what I actually think about it.
Let's Go. I'm having a real internal debate with Let's Go these days, and
Me too.
this album brought it on because
That wasn't this album. It was just listening to it.
well, this album caused me to go back to Let's Go because I was like,
Oh,
because I've been trying to do that pinpoint of like, well, what is this like? And like you
yeah,
said,
you
there's
do
not
that.
really,
I don't really do that much.
there's really not. And so this morning, I listened to Tomorrow Never Comes twice in its entirety this morning, and in between it, I sandwiched Let's Go, and I was just trying to get through. And I love Let's Go, but I was just trying to get through. I forgot how much there is there. And how again like skip like songs I like, but like okay, I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood. This new album is so tight
Okay.
that I kind of want all of it, and I like listening to it as an album too. That's the thing. I really like going from Tomorrow Never Comes to When the Smoke Clears. Like I like the journey as
Okay.
an album, and it's not too long either. So you can do it while you're washing dishes or doing something, and it fits
Right.
that
No,
tight window.
I do like the length of this record a lot. I apologize. I'm
Efficient,
not
yeah.
trying to be disrespectful. I'm looking for something very specific right now. Um, Speaking of Let's Go, so my buddy found me a copy of Let's Go on red vinyl, numbered 31 out of 1,000.
Oh shit.
Yeah, bro, and it's like way more expensive than the other copies, but I'm like, I have to have
Yeah,
that.
you got to get that. Yeah.
It's hand numbered too on the front, 31 of 1,000. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have to have this, bro. I couldn't believe he found that. I mean, it shocked me. But it's funny too because Let's Go is the one album where I'm like, it's just falling further and further down the rankings for
And
me.
and it's weird because Let's Go, we've had a bigger conversation, and I think this album could be there too. Is that like I say, Life Won't Wait and 2000 are I always say they're on their own kind of plane, like they're their own sort of unique things within the catalog. I'm starting to think Let's Go might need to be there too. Maybe
No,
Let's
I
Go and
think that
South
every
Title
record
are
is,
there.
dude. I've tried to explain this to people, man. Rancid doesn't have albums that are copycats of albums. They have
Mhm.
each individual album is its own thing. Rancid is a very good band. They're wonderful musicians. Every album is its own experience. It's its own time capsule, dude.
Yeah.
Like people just can't wrap their head around it because you go to bands like The Unseen, they all sound like The Unseen. You go to bands like Dropkick Murphys, they all sound like the Dropkick Murphys. Rancid's stuff all sounds like Rancid, but it has these like different.
Well,
Sorry, go
Rancid,
ahead.
yeah, it seems like Rancid doesn't have eras as much of the way of like again no effects. Like the pre-Hefe no effects. Like it has a certain
Oh, that's a
thing
good
to
point.
it. You know what I mean? And I feel like other than Lars entering the band after the first album, yeah, they probably don't have every album that's the Let's Go era, that's the Wolves, that's Life on Way, that's 2000, that's Indestructible, Dominoes, so on and
Right.
so forth. I think that's and again, there's you hear a lot of the other albums on this record. Like it's not like it just comes out of nowhere. They didn't just make like a completely different album, but it's
Well,
as you
that's
said,
one of the
it's kind of
things that
picking out the good parts.
that's one of the things that I liked about it is that they took the lessons they learned and they created a masterpiece. Anybody that wants to say that this album sucks, you're entitled to say that. I'm not even going to argue with you because I think that's ridiculous.
Mm.
This is a freaking masterpiece. Where does this stand in their rankings? I can tell you where it stands. 1A. That's where it stands. And Out Come the Wolves, Tomorrow Never Comes. It is right there. My whole rankings list has to get remade now because it's forced me to accept that Troublemaker is probably in my top 5, maybe top 3.
Mm.
Dominoes is better than almost all of them too. Like those are probably my top 4 right there. Out Come the Wolves, Tomorrow Never Comes, Dominoes, Troublemaker. Indestructible, way down the list. Life Won't Wait is probably middle of the road at this point. I just put these albums where I thought that like I don't know, man. This is a really it's weird because if I had just shut off my rankings list when we first started talking about it, it would have been different than what I put on the video. After I did the video, I was pretty confident that I was like, okay, this is a pretty good list. I'm pretty honest here. I got reasons why everything is where it's at. But multiple times in the video, I said, man, this is really hard to make this list.
Mm-hmm.
I stand behind that because I think if I'm really honest with myself, I want to give Let's Go and Life Won't Wait the respect that it deserves because without those, we wouldn't have these other albums. But this is a rankings list. Which ones do I go back to the most?
Yeah.
I go back to Dominoes and I go back to Troublemaker and I go back to And Out Come the Wolves more than anything else in my entire record collection. Like, not even just Rancid stuff, just in the whole entirety of my entire collection. those are the records that I revisit the most. And Let's Go, while it has a handful of songs that I just can't live without, it's also got a lot of songs that are good that I just don't care about.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sidekick, I love that song. St. Mary, I love that song. Dope Sick Girl, love that song. Radio, love that song. But like Nihilism, it's a good song, but I don't care about it. Like,
I'm like that with like Motorcycle Ride. Like,
yeah,
it's good, but I just
it's good, but I don't care about it. Like, it's good. So like, there's no skips. That's the problem with that album, is that they're learning how to be Rancid.
Yes.
So they got excellent songwriting skills, and so they wrote all these really good songs with a handful of just amazing ones. So nothing's like bad enough for you to complain about, but nothing's good enough for you to like write home about.
Exactly.
That's
no,
it
it's
right there.
You could cut that album in half. That was the revelation I had today. Like, you could cut this album in half, and the rest of it could have came out as like an EP, and we would love that EP. It'd be an awesome EP, but I think it loses a little bit of strength, and that's in contrast because I'm thinking of Tomorrow Never Comes, because Tomorrow Never Comes is so dang efficient.